Welcome to Who's Who in the Zoo. This is a podcast about learning other people's roles so that we bring to our work a sense of empathy for that role. Today's role is the Food Service Design Consultant, and representing Food Service Design Consultants is Nisha Gantwal. She is one of the directors at the MAC Group in Sydney. Thank you for taking time out of your day, Nisha. I know it's been a busy one for you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Rob. It's lovely to be here and talking to everybody. I'm from the MAC Group. I'm the director at the MAC Group. We design commercial kitchens and we're commercial kitchen consultants. I've been with the MAC Group for now 17 years. Wow. I joined MAC Group straight after my graduation when I was looking for, I completed my architecture from Sydney Uni, my post-graduation, and then I was looking for my first job in Sydney. And I came across the MAC Group. So I started working with the MAC Group without knowing that they do only commercial kitchens. But when I started to work on commercial kitchens, I understood that I was working on really large projects, like we were doing Hyatt Regency hotels and, the Sydney International Airport lounges for Qantas and Virgin. We were doing large projects and we were really important part of that project because sometimes we were just driving the project. So, and I also enjoyed what I really enjoyed was the technical aspect in addition to the design. So being from an architectural background, we love designing, but commercial kitchen being so technical, there was a technical drive to it as well. So I just took liking to the work that I was doing. And today it's been 17 years I've been with the company. And 4 years back, I took on the role of the director. The founder of the company, Theresa Mack, retired. And I stepped into her really large shoes. She was running the company for the last 30 years. And I've now, it's on my shoulders. And it's been an exciting last 4 years in this role.
Fantastic. Look, the MAC Group is a well-known name and brand. But there will be some people who have heard of the brand but not heard of the role. Would you mind sort of telling us what is the role? Mm-hmm. And then part B to this tough question is what do you do on a day-to-day basis? So let's just start with the role. You said you design commercial kitchens. Tell me a little bit more about that.
That's a very good question because it's not only you, it's people who come to us for getting our assistance sometimes don't know what we do. So it's a really good question. So when we are part of a big team designing, for example, if somebody's designing a hotel, first thing you look for is an architect who can design the whole hotel. Then you look for a builder who can build the hotel. And then you look for people in construction, engineering, all those aspects of the building. But in the commercial food premises in Australia, what is required is food safety. And there is very specific guideline on how to construct commercial food premises. Now, we as experts are very well conversant with that guideline. We rely and we study, we research, we keep ourselves up to date with the requirement of the Australian standard for commercial food premises, and that's our expertise. So when we're part of the big team and we bring with us the expertise on commercial food premises, on how to design, what are the code requirements, what the finishes need to be, what do the operators need to ensure to make the premises can maintain its license, because that's really important in terms of hygiene and maintaining the food safety standards. So that's where we come in. So as part of a team, we will look at the architectural design and we may say, okay, the kitchen's here. In terms of the workflow, we work with the staff, the hotel, whoever's running it. Sometimes we get to talk to the chefs. Many times we don't get to talk to the chefs. But we bring with ourselves the experience on how the food premises kind of works in terms of efficiency, what the workflows need to be. We bring with ourselves the knowledge on the latest equipment available. So we know, what, which is the most efficient equipment for an Asian kitchen versus for an Italian kitchen, for a general purpose cafe, to a hospital, to an airport. What are the different equipment that are available for a specific application? And then based on that, we design the kitchen. We provide the information to the project team, as in the services consultant, what do they need to do to provide, electricity, hydraulic connections, drainage, etc., to the architects on what the finishes must be. And at the end, we inspect it to make sure when the food inspectors come in, they are happy, and they will straight away say, yes, we provide the license and you can operate your food business from here. So we take away all the stress that the design team would have in terms of making sure that the premises that they are constructing and designing will be safe for commercial food premises.
I'm going to ask you a naughty question, Nisha. All right.
Sure.
So brace for impact. Is there a type of cooking that you really enjoy designing for? So perhaps you just really love Asian food or Indian food or something like that. Is there a little sort of private favorite? You don't need to tell anyone else, just myself. But is there a sort of
No, it's not a favorite type of kitchen, but it's a favorite type of facility. We love to design for hotels, because when we do hotels, large hotels, it's very complex on how the whole hotel works. There may be function centers, there may be bars, they're doing room service, they're doing restaurants, pubs. So it's like overlapping. That's one production kitchens kind of catering to different facilities. So that's the challenge, and that's the excitement on how this facility can cater to all these different, kind of modes that they need to, as well as it's from the designer point of view, being from an architectural background, we enjoy the aesthetics. And in the hotel, when we do a lot of show kitchens in the bar, our hunger for doing something more aesthetic is fulfilled, versus if we do kitchens in the back of house, it's all stainless steel and plain walls and plain finishes, and if you're not focusing too much on aesthetics, we are focusing on functionality. But in hotels and clubs and bars, that's the excitement. It's that's what I enjoy. Yeah,
I'm getting the picture that you really like to commission the hotels properly. You want to make sure that the ballrooms work, the sound is in the business. But I'm really obviously teasing you a bit there. It's about the you said a few times the workflow. Is this also about food flow? So it comes over here, gets stored here, gets cooked here. Is that also part of the process?
It is. When you design something, as designers, the design has a kind of a flow. So it has to have a logic behind it. Why are you designing something like this? So in terms of food premises, there is a receiving or a loading dock area. Then it goes to storage. Then the food from storage goes to a preparation area where they're cutting, chopping, preparing the food. Then it goes to a cooking facility. Then it might be plated and then served. And then the dirty dishes come back and they go for washing up, and then they are stored before they need to be used again. So that's a logical sort of flow. When we design spaces, we like to keep that flow so that people are not stepping on each other's toes when they're working in those areas. When the dirty dishes are coming back into the kitchen, it's not crossing the clean area, so you have limited contamination. So all those things, when we talk workflows, that's what we mean, to make sure that there is a logical flow within the kitchen, which everybody is very comfortable working in an environment, and they're not on each other's toes all the time.
Okay. These are spaces that are quite intense in performance. You turn on the gas cooking and it's on, and there is 300 or 400 kilowatts of heat right there in front of somebody. There are potentially wet surfaces, and you've got to make sure people don't slip over. It's just struck me that, at the risk of perhaps overdoing it, it sounds like you are designing some fairly dangerous spaces.
We do, yes. And for that, there is a process that we have. We have safety in design that always comes into play. So when we design large kitchens, we review it against our safety design checklist. So in that checklist, it's about, is the floor non-slip? That is Australian standard for slip rating for commercial kitchens. In bars, it is different. So we make sure we meet those standards. We make sure that all the surfaces are easy to clean. And in the safety and design, it's a very extensive kind of checklist that we go through to make sure people don't get locked up in the cool room. They have ways to get out of the cool room if they, for example, get stuck. The cool room doors by regulation need to be, should be able to be opened from the inside. There need to be alarms, etc. So all those are part of regulations which we, we are the experts of, and that's why most of, all our clients come back to us to provide, get our assistance on a project.
Okay. So in your view, what does your role bring that adds the most value to a project?
So like I said, being commercial kitchen consultant, we understand the workflow for a standard kitchen, plus we work closely with the project team for that specific project to understand the particular requirement for that project. In addition to that, we like to keep ourselves updated with the latest technology. So sometimes we just step in and we say, yes, the requirement or the brief is such and such, but would you like to also look at this, what is available in the market? For example, we did a kitchen for a big office, which had an Asian kitchen, and the chef requested 8 to 10 woks. And we came into picture and we said, how are you going to produce food for 800 to 1,000 people using 8 to 10 woks? The chefs are going to go crazy using the woks during a peak time. So if you want to make food in bulk, why don't you use the electric combi and the big, where you're cooking centers and large braising pans for doing all the work, and that will produce food in bulk quantities rather than doing in smaller quantities on a wok. The chef had no clue about how to produce the Asian menu from a modern equipment like the combi oven and bread pans. So we had a demonstration session organized by the suppliers where the demonstrator was an Asian cook, and the chef kind of prepared all the Asian menu items and showed them how to do it. The chef, after a lot of hesitation, did agree to put the combi oven and the bread pan in the project. And a year later, they came back saying, can we have one more combi oven, please? It's working excellent for us. So
right.
That's what we bring to the project. We bring not only respond to the brief, we also bring in, extra, information in terms of how we can make the workflow work more efficiently, how we can improve the efficiency in terms of adding technology with equipment or other criterias. I've also done my master's in sustainable design, so that's a big thing for me. So when we as the macro come into the project, we bring that knowledge as well. So we keep ourselves updated with our knowledge on which is the most energy efficient equipment, what uses less water, what's happening in the green building kind of situation. Currently, there is a big drive of using no fossil fuel, making all the gas kitchens into electric, like electrifying is what they're calling. A lot of councils are talking about it. That's become like a 6-star Green Star building in Australia cannot have fossil fuel. That means if it's a 6-star Green Star building and it has any office or retail or kitchens in it, it can't have any gas. So how to use electric equipment, and that's also from the sustainability point of view, we bring in that value as well.
Excellent. So now we're going to move into some tougher questions, Nisha. We've just kind of really softened you up on a few of these simple ones. Tell me, what is a good day at the office look like? What's a day you go, wow, that's just what I want to do every day?
Yeah, so a good day in the office is we win a big project. So when we were, in 2013, I remember we put in a tender for, we were doing there was a tender for renovation works to the Sydney Opera House. Right. And that was like, oh my God, we really want to work on this building. To see a building from the outside is one thing, but to understand it's always so secured. You can't go to the back of house areas in the Sydney Opera House. To be able to go there and to see the building inside out would be just amazing. So, and when we won the project, it was amazing. It was fantastic. We went into the building, and that was one of the most exciting projects in my initial years that I was, pumped up by. I was talking to everybody that I'm working on the project. So that's an exciting day to win a project. Yeah. And the other is to finish a project and walk into it and just be happy to see the finished work, everything working properly, no issues. And some of our projects win awards. So we finished the Liverpool Catholic Club, a big club, which had really large kitchens, lots of cafes, lots of bar, and that won some awards. We recently finished a really large, like a corporate office project, and that's won awards as well. We finished a Meals on Wheels kitchen in Adelaide. It was a really large production kitchen, and that too won awards. So any day when you hear that your project's winning awards, it's fantastic.
That's a good day, isn't it? Okay. The flip side of this coin is, what's a bad day at the office?
Bad day is, which is part of our work, is problem solving continuously. It's like getting calls from like the site saying this is not working, what you've specified is no longer available. What do we do it? How do we change it? That's one of the difficult days. I wouldn't say bad days, but that's part and parcel of our scope of works. The really bad day would be project's finished and a chef walks in and saying, I don't like this. This is not how I work. It has happened because, like I said, many times chefs don't get involved from the start of the project. They walk in after. So we had a hospital project that we did. It was briefed as a reheat kitchen, and we designed it as a reheat kitchen. The chef went in with an expectation of a full cooking kitchen. Yeah. So as soon as he walked in, he started writing all these emails to everybody saying, whatever kitchen is this? I can't work in here. There's no cooking. There's no exhauster. There's no cool room, blah, 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 blah. And we were like, okay, let's go back to the brief. The brief was for a reheat kitchen. So whenever we have to dig out emails to prove what we've done meets the brief, or what we are designing meets compliance, I think that's a challenging day.
Yeah. Listen, Nisha, I think you've got a job that in many ways is a lot more challenging than I think people appreciate. Apart from the fact that you've got a hell of a lot of sharp knives and potentially hopped up chefs around the place, you've also just got a lot of other things where you need to interact with other people. So you've got to work alongside, I believe, the head architect. And there may even be a tug of war for some of the space that you're after. And then your definition of the client, like you said, it can be very different, the client from the user. And I'd imagine getting that mix of user and the guy paying or the person paying for it, getting that right must be quite a political skill. So yeah, you've got a tough job. So that's a prelude to this question. What are the big challenges facing this role in this year? You've mentioned, I think, the gas and the electrification of buildings. What about trends like solid fuel cooking? Seems to be quite a trend at the moment. What other sort of challenges are out there that are looming on the horizon?
For your first part, when you kind of made the prelude to the question, you actually pinpointed the exact problems which we face every day. The architects want to make the front of house bigger. The clients want more seats in the dining area. Hence, our kitchen space just keeps shrinking every day. Where do we want to put the services rider? Put it in the kitchen. Where do we want to put the hot water unit? Put it in the kitchen. So all the services starts going into the kitchen because we want a bigger space for the public, much more prettier space, beautiful aesthetic looking space for the public to use. And kitchen's back of house, it doesn't matter. But that impact that it has on the kitchen staff, because those are people as well, and they are using the building, they are staying in that environment for longer. So I think to make it comfortable for them is our job as kitchen consultant, and we have to fight for space. We have to fight to make sure that it's more comfortable for them. It's not only compliant with the regulation, but the users of the space have that comfort of using that space, and it is less noisy, it is not as hot, it is not as congested, the workflows work well, so they're not clashing, people are not walking in each other's paths all the time. All that is our duty. So sometimes we have to actually sit on the table and negotiate and fight for space with the architects. But in terms of the other items that you mentioned, the challenges facing currently, like I said, for 6-star Green Star building, the new regulation is no fossil fuel. That means no gas. And that has a big impact on Asian cooking, because currently we do have induction cooktops that can replace the burners, but we have limited technology in terms of induction woks, especially large-sized induction wok for Asian kitchens. So that's going to be a really big challenge, mainly for retail facilities that are going to go in non-gas buildings, so the buildings which will not have any fossil fuel. Again, the buildings which are aiming to not use fossil fuel, having solid fuel burning and coal burning will be an issue. So if you have a hotel which specializes in just solid fuel cooking, that's going to be a challenge. And for us designers, it's that we are aware of technology which is available. So it's electric fired char grill, which can bring in the flavoring, or an electric fired pizza oven with wood chips for flavoring. All that option is available. It's, I think the main challenge is the induction. And the bigger challenge is the perception, because many of the chefs that we talk to, they're like, we can't cook without flame. How can we cook without flame? We're always used to working in a certain way. You can't suddenly stop us from doing that. And also with the leasing agents. So many of the retail leasing agents, they're like, we can't lease the space if there's no gas. So all these perceptions, we have to fight those perceptions. And that's a bigger challenge than even technology, because the technology is available in other parts of the world. We know induction woks are available in China, Hong Kong, in UK. It's just a matter of importing them or bringing that technology to Australia. And we are in conversation with big suppliers. Like for Asian cooking, we talk to B&S, which is a really big supplier for Asian cooking equipment, commercial equipment in Australia. So we have been talking to them. So bringing the technology is easier than changing the perception.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is all fairly challenging. You've got safety, you've got staff productivity. That has to be a big issue at the moment. You've got, I think, people returning to cafes and restaurants as COVID restrictions lift. Is there an upturn in business at the moment, or has COVID changed your business model permanently or just temporarily? Or not at all?
No, it has definitely. Everyone's been impacted by COVID, so are we. So 2 years back, we were really busy doing, we were doing Qantas lounges, Virgin lounges, and we were working on a production kitchen for an airline catering company. Right. And come March 2020, all these projects go on hold. So it was a big shock, and none of them have recovered, because airline industry is one of the biggest impacted industry during COVID. So these projects have not come back on track. Whereas for us, it has slowed us down. But from the food hygiene point of view, we have to review our designs a bit more, as in terms of where have we provided the hand basins? Is there, especially in buffet situations, how do we design buffets? So currently, due to COVID, at least until last year, there were no buffets, self-serve buffet. The staff would be serving, but we want to allow that flexibility. So in future, they can be self-serve as well once COVID goes away. So we are designing not for the COVID time, but we are also designing for flexibility for post-COVID. So that approach, mainly in areas where there is public interaction in buffets and bars, though that has been an approach.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, if I've got younger staff perhaps working for me and they're about to go to a design meeting with the MAC group, how would some of these roles do their best to assist you? So I'm talking about, in the first instance, engineers. How would engineers best meet you or your team and come prepared for their meeting in a way that's helpful for your role?
When we come on a project and when we have meetings with the engineers, we usually send them a checklist as to if this is an existing building, can you tell us which are the areas where there are beams and we can't have penetrations? Which are the areas where gas is not available or there's limitation of electric power, where we can't penetrate because of there is a server room below it. So we know the building parameters. So if we are provided with information that will help us design from the start, that really helps us. Also to work with us, because we're not only designing a commercial kitchen, we are designing a space for people to work in. So as in an office space, you make sure that your table is ergonomic, your chair is ergonomic. In a commercial kitchen, we need to make sure that the space that the kitchen staff is working in is operational health and safety, points are covered, and it's a comfortable environment for them to work in. So if we can work together with engineers to bring down the noise levels of the exhaust hood, to bring down the heat levels, make it a more comfortable place for the kitchen staff to work. Also, when we are discussing no fossil fuel, when we are discussing induction, that will require higher electrical capacity. So that type of discussion, bringing in their expertise on how we can make sure that we can achieve what we are trying to achieve with the commercial kitchens.
Okay. Well, Nisha, that has been terrific. There is one question that if you don't want to answer, that's all right with me. But I'm still dying to know, what is your favorite, let's say, place to eat? That sounds weird, I know. But in terms of what are your favorite kitchens to design is really where I want to go. Is it places where there's a particular ethnicity around the food? Or is it a particular type of kitchen? Like you've mentioned hotels. Is it places where having fun? So what are your sort of favorite places? It's a personal question. What are your personal favorite places to design?
To design, like I said, something that is more challenging is very exciting, as well as something that has a story. So when we're working on a project in Melbourne in which we are designing a sort of a kitchen for a cafe within a big facility, which they are planning to recycle water in a certain way to use for condensers and water cool condensers. So there is a sustainability story around it on how they want to use it. Also, the kitchen, there's a lot of, how there's emphasis on first generation, and the stories are now the first generation Australians. There's also in the food industry, there is the bush tucker and all these kind of restaurants that are coming up with stories behind on why they want to do it. That's always exciting. That is always, if a project has a drive more than just we have to complete the project to give it to the client. I think those stories make it a lot more exciting. We also kind of working with a DV center, which is a domestic violence center for women and children and families. So it's a pro bono project that we are doing, but that is really close to our heart because it's sort of designing a commercial kitchen for children who really need the help. So it will be providing healthy meals to children, in a domestic violence center sort of a situation. So the story on what the center's been doing and how we can provide assistance. And because it's a pro bono project, which is almost kind of being supported by the community. So we've reached out to our equipment suppliers to assist on the project, and companies like Moffat, Smeg, these people have come forward with, yes, we want to help. Cyberchill refrigeration, all these scope refrigeration, they've all come forward and said we would like to help and provide equipment for free, which is fantastic. That, at the end of the day, to see the community give back, because we are all here working in a business, but when such a project comes along where we can give back to the community, I think that's excellent.
Well, Nisha, you've tugged the heartstrings. It's a terrific way to close. The fact that your work has additional meaning on top of what it normally has. I thank you for your time, and I hope to see you around the traps. Thanks again, Nisha.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. It was lovely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.